Harav YCD, welcome back to Yerushalmi Pesachim. We are in the middle of the sugyas of Rav Chanina Skan HaKohanim towards the end of the first parak. So we are holding on Yud Amud Beis. Now, Rabbi Zvid had asked two questions against the Bnei Yeshiva from the Brisa of Erev Pesach, which fell on Shabbos. And now we're going to bring sort of the Gemara answered the second question. And now, he spoke about a case where it says about the Mishnah in Trumas. Remember the Mishnah in Trumas? Remember the case in Trumas? The first part of it was where you're leaving things uncovered, and you have been mitame. The wine is gushing down. The tame wine is gushing down. The truma wine is gushing down. Sorry, the truma wine is coming into your chulin below. And the question is, you want to catch it in tame kalim to stop the wine ruining your chulin wine. So, and the question was, there was Reb Meir and there was Reb Yossi, and did Reb Meir agree with it? Did he not agree? So, Va'aton Amrin. So you were also saying that Chavis Shnia, so the second case of Chavis, which is the case of the wine gushing down, Reb Meir, that the argument about the Chavis, that Yeshua allowed you to defile it with your hands, right, to be matame this wine that's falling, which is going to be ruined anyway, it's Reb Meir's view. Really, it's like Reb Meir's view of Rabbi Yeshua, really. But less Rabbi Yossi Maidaba. But Rabbi Yossi wouldn't agree with it. So according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yeshua would forbid it. He wouldn't allow you to defile the truma, which is anyway going to be ruined. But we've learnt in a brisa with this situation, when does Rabbi Yeshua allow you to receive the wine of the truma in Tamei Kalim? In a situation where the bottom vat does not have enough chulin to nullify the truma wine that's falling in. You don't have 100 barrels of wine at the bottom, which would nullify the truma that falls in, and therefore if you don't stop that wine, it's going to forbid all the chulin wine. There'll be a big financial loss. And that's why Rabbi Yeshua allows you to stop the wine falling in by receiving it in tamei vessels.
Oh, because it can only be drunk back at home.
Well, no, but it's going to fall in the chulin. It's going to be, basically it's going to fall in the chulin, which is tamei, right? So no one will be able to drink it. Once it falls in...
Well, chulin's tamei as well.
Well, the chulin is tamei.
Oh, right.
The truma is going to... I think the chulin is tamei. Well, if the chulin is not tamei, then you're right. Well, one second, if we don't have 100 times, yes, you're right, Kainim would have to drink it. Yeah. But if we do have 100, so if we have 100, then Kainim could drink it. If we don't have 100, then, one second, Kainim could drink it if the chulin is fine. But I think the chulin was tamei as well. I think chulin was tamei. So no one would have it. Now, if you do have enough chulin wine at the bottom to nullify the truma, you've got 100 barrels of wine of chulin. It could be it's not chal tamei, actually. Could be. So basically, if you have 100, so even if the truma falls in, it will not forbid the chulin, because the truma will be nullified in the chulin. Then it will be fine for anyone. And the mixture would be permitted like chulin, which is tamei. Yeah. He says like chulin, which is tamei. Then Rabbi Yeshua would agree, I feel a kol shahu. Then even a tiny bit of wine, you don't need to defile it, because it will just fall in the chulin. Also, the tamas, you shouldn't be matame it by putting your kalim there, because there won't be such a massive loss if it falls the wine of truma. And Rabbi Yeshua will agree, don't defile the truma with your hands. Okay, you don't need to, because it'll be nullified. But the in Meir, you want to say this argument of the barrel is only in Reb Meir's view of Rabbi Yeshua, then what's the difference? If he holds you can just defile it wherever you want, then what matters what's down below? There's no difference whether there is a share to nullify it or if there isn't a share to nullify it. According to his view, Rabbi Yeshua allows you to defile it regardless, because it's going to be ruined. This truma is now falling into chulin. Actually, it says this, which is tamei in the bar. It says the chulin is tamei. Actually, the chulin is tamei in the bar. So this truma is going to be ruined. So therefore, so what's the difference if there is 100, not 100? Whatever happens, you can defile it. So how can the brisa say afilu kol shahu, even the smallest amount, also the tamas, you mustn't defile it? It must be the brisa holds, like the view of Rabbi Yossi's version of Yeshua. And that he holds that even according to Yeshua, he allows you to mitame the truma tahira, which is going to be destroyed, but he allows it only to prevent a big financial loss, like when the truma is going into chulin tamei, which does not have enough to nullify it. and therefore the second machlekes in the Mishnah in Trumas, where Rabbi Yeshua allows you to receive the Truma in Tamei Kalim to prevent a financial loss, that must be even Rabbi Yossi as well. And not like you want to say the Bnei Yeshiva, you're saying, according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yeshua would never allow you to defile the Truma in this situation. So Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida brings another proof, that Rabbi Yeshua was talking about a case of the chavis which got broken in Trumas, and even Rabbi Yossi would agree to it, not like the Bnei Yeshiva. But and I'll give you a further proof, not like you're saying, that which we've learnt in our Mishnah, that Rameh said that from the words of Yeshua, the case of the Mishnah in Trumas, from that we learn, remember back to our Gemara now, in our Pesachim, from that we learn that you can burn Trumas Chometz, which is Tahor, together with Tameh on Erev Pesach, and we had our Mishnah, and Amala Rabbi Yossi said, Eina hi amida. You cannot compare the cases. You can't learn from Yeshua, because that's now we're learning. We're learning from Yeshua, this case of Trumas, to our Mishnah. You can't learn from Yeshua the din of a barrel of Truma which got broke for burning Trumas Chometz Tahor on Erev Pesach. Now, when you say Eina min amida, les barnash oma eina, you would never use that phrase. You can't learn the second din from the first unless you agree to the first. You must agree to the first. Now, since Rabbi Yossi said you can't learn this from that, Miklau du moida kadmaisa. It must be he agrees to the first din. He must agree that Yeshua would allow you to defile with your own hands Truma, which is going to be destroyed in the case of the barrel. And he says to Rameah, but you can't apply that heta for Trumas Chometz, which is Tahor on Erev Pesach. So you see from here, not like you want to say Bnei Yeshiva, you must see from here the machlekes about a barrel being broken in the Mishnah in Trumas, where Rabbi Yeshua defiles the Truma in your own hands, wherever it's going to get lost, it must be Rabbi Yossi. He must agree to that. He didn't want to extend it to Truma, which is Tahor on Erev Pesach, but he must agree to that. So therefore, Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida has concluded that the words of Yeshua din of Chavis can be even according to the view of Rabbi Yossi. But if that's the case, my kedun. So why does he say Eina min amida? If Rabbi Yossi agrees, so Rabbi Yeshua holds you can defile that wine of Truma, it's getting spilled, it's going to be lost. So why does he not learn? Why can you not learn Sreifa burning Truma Tahor on Erev Pesach from that case? Why can you not burn Trumas Chometz Tahor with Tameh on Erev Pesach? Why, if you can be Matame the wine with your Kalim, which are Tameh, why can't you burn the Truma Tahora with the Tameh one on Erev Pesach? Rezubun, Taman in Trumas, why can you defile the Truma which is gushing down in Tameh Kalim? Because there's going to be a big financial loss. To prevent a national big loss. If you don't receive the Truma of Tameh Kalim, it's going to fall in the Chulin Tameim, it will forbid them the whole mixture. Now here, you've got Trumas Chometz, which is Tahor. Ooh, I want to save a few logs of wood. I want to burn it with the Tameh one. How much are you saving already to have one little fire instead of two smaller fires? How much are you saving? Ma'izlach, what monetary loss is there if you burn the Tahor one to get separately from the Tameh one? You're not saving that much. That's why we don't allow you to do it. But even with Trumas Chometz, you really need to burn them separately. I need to make two fires now. Right? I need now a bit more wood. That's a big loss. Well, it's a loss, but it's not a massive loss. So the Gemara answers, look, when there's a massive financial loss, we may be more lenient. So the Truma is gushing down into the Chulin below, so we say, fair enough, you receive it in Tameh Kalim to stop it going into the Chulin. But here, that you need a few extra twigs, we're not going to be lenient for that. Now, the Gemara comes back now and answers the last question of Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida of the Bnei Yeshiva, where Rabbi Yossi said in our Mishnah, Eina Yamida, and he must agree that Rameah, or the case of Trumas, Rabbi Yossi must agree to Rameah in that case. Rabbi Yeshua allows you to defile the wine which is falling from the top vat because it's going to be destroyed. According to the Bnei Yeshiva, Tiftar, we can explain the words of Rameah in our Mishnah, Commander Omar, like the one who said, Medivir Rabbi Akiva or Medivir Rabbi Chanina Zagana Kohanim. So he says like this, according to Bnei Yeshiva, when Rameah said from their words we learned, maybe Commander Omar, maybe he was following, what did he mean? Who did he mean? He meant maybe Medivir Rabbi Akiva, which were the early Mishnahs we had. And that's where Rameir said his din. Rameir learned you can defile Trumas Chametz, which is Tahor, on the 6th hour. He didn't learn it from Yerushalmi. Now we're not saying don't look at Trumas now. Go back to Pesachim. Go back to our Mishnahs here. Don't start looking at a case of wine falling down a vat and all in Trumas. Forget that. Right? Forget that. But let's shma minal klum. You can't learn anything about the view of Rabbi Yossi, what he would say in Rabbi Yeshua in a case of a barrel full, because we're not discussing that. Rameir never learned his din from Rabbi Yeshua in the case over there with the Truma. We're not talking about Trumas now. We're in Pesachim. We're going on the earlier Mishnahs in our Perek. You cannot conclude from Rabbi Yossi's answer, Eina hi amida, that he agrees Rabbi Yeshua would allow you to defile Truma, which is going to be destroyed. Now the Gemara brings another opinion about the question, the two arguments with the Chavis, which is Chavis in Trumas. Rav Zira, Rav Ila, Tren, B'Shem, Rav Elazar. He said a different view. He said Chavis Rishona, so this is like a new look at things now. Chavis Rishona, the first argument about a barrel in Trumas, where Rabbi Yeshua said don't defile Truma, which is Tolo. Remember Truma, which is in doubt, don't defile it. That is Rabbi Yossi. That's like the view of Rabbi Yossi and not Rameir, because Rameir would allow you to go ahead and defile it. Shnia, the second argument about a barrel in Trumas, where Rabbi Yeshua allowed you to receive the Truma in Tamei Kelim, that can be Ben Rameir, Ben Rabbi Yossi. That can be both opinions. Both of them will allow you to defile with your hands Truma, which is going to be destroyed where there's a big financial loss. So now, what have you told me? You said the second case, receiving the Truma in Tamei vessels, everyone will agree to it. Rameir and Rabbi Yossi. Our Rabbi Ezra Kumar Ramana, Les Hadar Pliga al Rabbi Yossi. Surely this second part in Trumas argues on the view of Rabbi Yossi. Now Rabbi Yossi forbids you to be Metame and our Mishnah, or he forbids you to be Metame Truma, which is going to be destroyed. As we said in our Mishnah, he forbids you to burn Trumas Chametz, which is Tahar, with Tameh. It's going to be destroyed anyway. This Truma, which is Tahar, Erev Pesach, is going to be Chametz. Yeah. You're going to have to burn it. It's going to be destroyed. He still doesn't allow you to burn them together. And yet the second case in the Mishnah there, where Rabbi Yeshua allows you to defile the Truma, which is Hadach Le'ebud. So Ramana agrees to the question. He said, you know what, we've got to change the wording. Amalei, he said, you know what, this is the wording you've got to put in Rabbi Elazar. The second argument there, the case of the wine coming down, is only Rabbi's view. But like Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi won't hold of it. According to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yeshua would forbid you to defile the Truma, which is going to be destroyed. According to this version, when he said the machlekes, the first case about the barrel of Trumas, that's Rabbi Yossi, he means it's even according to Rabbi Yossi. The first case might be even Rabbi Yossi, but the second case won't be Rabbi Yossi. Neymar, are we going to say that we're going to say the first case is even? Like maybe we'll suggest that maybe it's only Rabbi Yossi's view. The first case, right? The first case, you're defiling it with your hands. A Truma which is left a suffix, left uncovered, you can defile it. Now maybe that is Rabbi Yossi only. But like Rameir, maybe Rameir won't agree, because Rabbi Yossi said, look, if it's there, you can uncover it or whatever it is, but you can't burn it. But maybe that's not like Rameir, because Vishamatzina, Rameir Soirev. Maybe Rameir allows you to go ahead and burn it. Truma Taluya, just with the suffix. Maybe Rameir allows you to go and burn it, but in every place. So the first case of the Chavis, which is basically Truma Taluya, where you've got Truma with a suffix, left uncovered, not uncovered. What can you do with it? Leave it as it is. Even Rabbi Yeshua maybe says, look, you don't have to guard it. You can cause it to become Tameh, or maybe some other losses, but he doesn't allow you to go and defile it with your hands. Rameir allows you to burn Truma Taluya everywhere. That means even when it's not going to be destroyed for other reasons. So maybe the first case over there in Trumas, maybe it's not like Rameir. Rameir would go further. Right? Rameir would actually allow you to burn it as well. Now Ramon explains how he tried to answer this question. Amar Rabbana, Azadet leKisrin. I once went to Kisrin with Shemais and I heard Rav Zrikan Shem Zeira, Rameir Soiref. Rameir allows you to burn Truma Taluya B'chol Mokem, wherever it is. Truma which has got a suffix, go and burn it. But Amarisle, I said to Rav Zrikan, Gigain Ahishi Taluya Dvar Torah. Surely Rameir said, you can burn Truma when there's a suffix, when there's a biblical doubt. Right? There's a suffix Tuma from the Torah. But if it's only a rabbinical doubt, Rameir will tell you can burn it? No. Therefore, we can explain the first case in Trumas, where Rabbi Yeshua doesn't allow you to be Metami Truma or Tluya B'Yadayim, is talking about a case of Truma because of a suffix Rabbanan, And even Rameh would agree you can't start defiling it with your hands because it's only a suffix drabanan, right? That he doesn't allow you to do. A suffix from the Torah is one thing. But Amali, and Reb Zrikan said to me, this is exactly what I've heard. This is what Rameh is talking about. He says, the truth is, I don't hold this because I know Pasala. I explained when Rameh said you can burn Truma Tuliyah, Shanit Mes Medaya Goyim, even if it's a rabbinical. The Medaya Goyim means Truma went into a house of Goyim, or it touched someone who went inside there, where we're worried they may have buried bodies inside the house. We have no idea. This Truma is suffix. It's a suffix Drabanan, because Tuma of the house of a guy is only suffix Tuma Drabanan. He said, well, I hold, Rameh says you can burn it even in those cases. You may say Rameh holds only in Torah suffix. I say even rabbinical suffix. Now, Rabbana continues to talk about the discussion between him and Reb Zrikan. I said to Reb Zrikan, Ma bidach. What's going on there? What source is there? Just one second.
Well, the reversing going on there.
1 minute. All right, let's carry on. So where are we now? So Ramana now continues to talk about the discussion between him and Zrikan. I said to Reb Zrikan, Ma biyada. So you, Reb Zrikan, said, well, I think Rameh will allow you to burn even suffix drabanan, you can burn it. He said, what source have you got to say that? That you can burn truma, which is tomei suffix, even if it's just a guy's house, which is rabbinical. Reb Zrikan told me, Tani, we've learned in a brisa, Modo Goyim, if you've got a truma that's gone in a guy's house, Tailin, it's got, you live to leave it if it is. If it's tamei truma because of the mother of Goyim, it becomes teluya. You can't eat it, you can't burn it, you can't burn truma, which is just suffix tamei drabanan. But look at this, there's another view. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Omer, Sofin. They say you can actually burn it as well. So there is a Tana. So Reb Zrikan says, I have a Tana who supports me. And that's Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. He holds truma, which is a suffix, only a rabbinical suffix, you can burn it. And this is what Reb Meir holds. So that case over there, you want to say it's Teluya and Reb Meir holds, maybe you can't, but there is a Tana who holds you can even burn it in a rabbinical doubt. And Reb Zrikan proves this, if that's the case, that when Zeira said Rameh allows you to burn truma teluya always, he means maybe even rabbinical truma, but rabbinical doubts. And according to this, that argument in trumas, the first case in trumas, right, where you've got taloy and you leave it, you uncover it, can you defile it, can you burn it, or you just can't burn it? So where Rabbi Shua doesn't allow you to burn it, he doesn't let you. Like, maybe it's not like Rameh. Rameh will say go and burn it. There are people who say you can burn it. You can't say, like Reb Mona wanted to say at first, oh, it's only rabbinical truma, Reb Meir will agree you don't burn it. Because according to Reb Meir, you can even burn rabbinical truma as well. And if that's the case, that nusach which we tried to correct, Reb Mona tried to correct in the words of Reb Elazar, no, we reject that. The first case in trumas can be according to Reb Yossi, according to Reb Meir. The second case is Reb Yossi on his own. But you have to say, like the Bnei Yeshiva wanted to say the name of Reb Elazar, the first case can be only according to Reb Yossi, because Reb Meir will say, go and burn it. And the second case can be even according to Reb Meir. Now, Rav Chuna b'Shem Rav Zeira, Reb Meir Soiref, he says, Reb Meir allows you to burn Truma Teluya B'Shar Yemos HaShana, the rest of the year, not just Erev Pesach, when there's a Bil Chomas, whenever. Reb Meir holds, go and burn Truma Teluya, there's a suffix, whenever you want. V'Hal Tali came, and we've learned in the Brisa, that when Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, Truma Teluya, you have Trumas Chametz, which is a suffix Tameh, or Chametz, which is Tamea, or definitely Tameh. Sofin Isa Erev Shabbos, you can burn it on the Friday, which is the 13th of Nisan. Im Chashecha, just as it's getting dark, Divrei Rameh. But the Chachamim said, no, Bismana, in the normal time, which means the 14th of Nisan in the morning. Now, so what we got here? We got two opinions. The first one said, you burn it Erev Shabbos on the 13th. So Friday is the 13th, and Chachamim, you get rid of it. You don't burn it. Shabbos morning, you can't burn it, but you sort of get rid of it on the 14th in the morning, because Shabbos just crumble it, whatever it is. Now, if Rameh allows you to burn Truma Teluya the rest of the year, then why do you have to wait? Why to the last minute before Shabbos starts? But Yisrael B'Shachris, do it on the Friday morning. Why does he only allow you to burn it at the end of the day? Must be he forbids to burn Truma Taleya the rest of the year. He only allows you when it's like the last minute when you can possibly do it. So the Gemara answers Tifta, Shinisatsa, we're talking about someone who was lazy. You're right, he should have done it in the morning, didn't get around to it. Shinisatsa below Saraf. Teda Lachashu who came. I'll prove it to you. The Tari, we've learned Tamea. It says in the Brisa, Meir says, we burn Truma Tamea on Erev Shabbos Samach Shecha. Now everyone agrees you can burn Truma, which is definitely Tameh, whenever you want. Why is he saying you're burning it close to dark? It must be, lie, do not see that it's talking about a case of Shinis Atzal, he was lazy, V'lai Saraf. It's Truma Tamea. He should have burned it in the morning. It must be, it's Tameh. He could have done it ages ago, but he's lazy. He left at the last minute. Just like with Truma Tamea, that's the situation, because that he definitely could have done earlier. So Truma Taloya is talking about the same case. But the truth is, Min Adin, you can burn Truma Tamea even earlier on Chakris, or even before that, when you know it's Tameh. And similarly, you can burn Truma Taloya earlier on. As soon as you find out that it's Taloya, there's a suffix in it. According to this, you can burn it whenever you want. Rav Abba, Maria Chod Rabbi Yossi. Tifta, we could explain that Bryce is talking about a case, Shanola La Tuma, where again, where we had this the other day, the suffix came about the last minute before Shabbos. Tuma, right, the case of Vadei Truma and suffix Tuma came about by Isa Shah only that minute, less just before Shabbos, where you didn't burn it earlier, there was no problem earlier. But Leshma Minal Klum. You can't learn anything from this Brisa about the view of Rav Meir about Truma Taloya. It could be he allows you to burn it, like Rav Chuna in the name of Rav Zeira. When it says you burn it with Truma Tamea just close to dark and not before, it's talking about a case where the Tumah of Vadai Tamea and the suffix Tumah Taloya only happened close to dark. The suffix only came out later. Right? Had it come earlier, you would have burnt it earlier, but nothing happened. There was no reason to burn it in the morning. Now, until now, the Gemara has discussed if the second argument over there in Trumas, which is the wine coming down, would Rabbi Shua allow you to be metame the truma, right, which is falling down to prevent the financial loss? Is that Rabbi Meir's view? Maybe according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shua would not allow it, or maybe Rabbi Yossi would agree to this din, that he would agree Rabbi Shua would allow it. Now we're going to see another Tana. Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Shimon. We did touch on Rav Shimon the other day. Rav Shimon in Bachairis, Rabbi Yeshua in the second Machlekes in Trumas, Shnein Amru Davar Achad. They both said the same thing. Rav Shimon says, now this is a case, you've got a firstborn Behema Tahira. Firstborn Behema Tahira, which is Kaddish as a carbon, right? Which has got an illness full of blood. Now you're allowed to bloodlet it to heal the animal. Even for that, you need to make a hole in a place which might make a blemish which puzzles it from being a carbon. So you're allowed to do a bloodletting which might make a psul on the animal. Now usually you're not allowed to put a blemish on kodshim. And Rabbi Yochanan holds the reason is because look, the animal will die if you do nothing, so there's no issa of putting a blemish. Now this is like the view of Rabbi Shua with the barrel falling down, that the truma is anyway going to get lost, so you don't have to guard it, you're allowed to defile it with your hands. So this is a view of Rav Shimon, who allows you to make a hole in the animal, similar to Rav Shua allowing you to receive the truma in the Tamei Kalim. Ravila, Rav Shimon de Bechoros, that Rav Shimon de Bechoros, and Rav Shua de Trumas that we just quoted, Loidain Moideledain, this one doesn't agree to that, Loidain Moideledain, this one doesn't agree to that. Rav Shimon allows you to put a blemish on this animal, because the illness of the animal is a blemish. It's going to die. So it's already blemished. So therefore he holds there's no problem in putting a new blemish on because it's already considered blemished. Right? But truma, which is spilling and falling into the chulin, is still tahor. Maybe Rav Shimon won't allow you to defile it by receiving it in Tamei Kalim. And it could be also the other side. Rabbi Yeshua allows you to be metame the truma going to get ruined to stop a financial loss. You won't ruin the chulin where it's going to fall into, but maybe the animal which has got this blood, he will not allow you to put a blemish on it to cause the bloodletting because it doesn't save from a big financial loss. Reb Zeira said, Mistabra, it's logical to say Reb Shimon Yoda Reb Shua. Reb Shimon would agree you can receive the wine in the Tamei Kalim, but Reb Shua won't agree to Reb Shimon. So Reb Shua won't allow you to do a blemish on the animal. According to you, you want to say Rav Shimon will agree to Rabbi Yeshua. So Rav Shimon will agree you can defile the truma which is falling. But we've learnt in the Tshuva that Rabbi Yossi said back to Rameir, he said, Maidin, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yeshua, they both agreed, Shesafin that Truma, which is Chametz Tahira on Erev Pesach, that what? Shesafin Zula Atzma v'Zula Atzma. You have to burn them separately. You can't burn them together. We don't want you to defile this Truma, which is Tahar. And not like you, Rameir, you said, you can burn them all together on Erev Pesach. Now, what is it here? The Kavanah of Rabbi Yossi, that this is how Rav Shimon will explain the views of Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. What do we see from here? If this is Rav Shimon explaining their views, then Rav Shimon, who forbids you to burn Truma Tahira together with Tmei on Erev Pesach, v'Yisrael shten ka'achas. You want to say in Rav Shimon in Bechiras you can put a blemish on the animal, so then Rav Shimon should allow you to burn Truma Tahira with a Truma Tamea. You're saying Rav Shimon allows you to do a blemish on an animal, to do the bloodletting, because it's going to get lost anyway. The animal's going to die. And yet, even when there's no monetary loss, right? The animal's going to die, you can put a blemish on it. And therefore you're saying he should definitely allow you to... Now this Truma Tahira, what's going to happen to it? It's going to become Chometz. Why can't you burn it together? To prevent a loss of Chulin. I mean, he allows you... He'll definitely allow you to be Matame, the wine coming down, to prevent a financial loss. He should also allow you to burn Truma Tahira with Tameh on Erev Pesach, because the Tahira anyway is going to get lost. It's going to become Chometz. He should allow you, just like he does a blemish on an animal, to burn all the Truma Tahir with Tameh on Erev Pesach, even though there's no big financial loss, but he should still allow you to do it. So Reb Zira answers, Trumas Chometz on Erev Pesach, you're right, it's Tahir, and it's going to be burned to the end of the day. But meanwhile, now, Min HaTorah, it's still Tahir, Truma Tahira. In the 6th hour, there's no biblical prohibition on it yet. It's still Mutter Min HaTorah, it's only rabbinical prohibition. Atu shegazata, you, the Chachamim, you said, 6th hour, you must burn it. Right? You are the ones. Shegazata la sreifa b'tumah. You said the chametz needs to be burnt even an hour before midday, which is in a rabbinical time. Right? And this Isur Rabbanan does not treat the truma to ena roi. It's not, you want to remove the chiyuv to guard it. Now, of course, it's going to get lost, because we have to listen to the Chachamim who said, look, you're not allowed to eat it. You have to burn it. But that's not considered that the truma itself is going to be destroyed. At this moment in time, the truma is not truma that needs to be destroyed. You can't do anything with it.
You can't eat
but the
it.
Chachamim were the one. No, but the Chachamim said, I have to burn it. But the truma itself, there's nothing wrong with the truma. It's not like wine that is automatically dripping into the chulin. That's on its way to be destroyed. This animal with a blemish is dying, right? Whereas here, this truma in the 6th hour, it's not. There's nothing wrong with it. You have put a problem on it yourself. You've caused the trouble, right? You got an outer problem here that which will not allow you to eat it, and therefore you'll have to burn it. That does not take away the Torah obligation to guard the truma from tumah. Therefore, Rav Shimon does not allow you to defile this trumas chametz tahor in the 6th hour. Whereas an animal with this blood problem and is going to die from the illness, and the wine that's spilling is going to get ruined, in their own way they are going to be destroyed. They are causing their own destruction, right? Therefore, Rav Shimon allows you to put a blemish on the animal and to defile the wine of truma which is pouring down, that you can be mekalkel an item, and it's ready, it's on its way out, as it were. Whereas truma, which is tahar in the 6th hour, is not on its way out. That's the difference. Mikal Mokim. Nevertheless, even though the Isur Chometz in the 6th hour is only rabbinical, but wait a minute. Now, 1 minute, once the Chachamim tell you in the 6th hour you've got nothing to do with this, that will take your mind off it. By taking your mind off it, you've been siach das, you've taken your mind off it, it's not guarded anymore. Lai nifsala, surely it should be possible, even though it's tahar, but behesach hadas, because you've removed your guarding eye from it. Like in Rav Yochanan, didn't Rav Yochanan say, Im hisiah, if you moved your mind away from truma, dvar Torah, it becomes possible from the Torah. because you're not thinking about it anymore, because you're thinking, well, the Rabbanan have said I can't do much with it. Therefore, it's apostle min Torah, because you took your mind away from it. So even Truma, which is tahar in the 6th hour, should be apostle min Torah, should be as if it's going to be ruined, because according to Rav Shimon, he holds anything which is going to be ruined in its own right, you're allowed to destroy it. Now, don't tell me, it's only rabbinically forbidden. It's not considered halach le'ibud in its own way, as you wanted to say, but it's also because it's also with Rabbanan, you've taken your mind away. And that itself brings about psul min Torah, because you've taken your mind away. And it's considered halach le'ibud in its own right. Therefore, you should be allowed to define it with your hands, like the case of achuz hastam, like the animal, according to Rav Shimon. Because in a way, Torah, because the din of the Torah is halach le'ibud, because it's going to die from an illness if you don't do anything about it, and therefore you're allowed to put a blemish on it. And chaves hashniya, just like the second case, that's the wine coming down. Reb Meir is according to Reb Meir in the name of Yeshua, the wine's going to fall. It's like a Torah din that is going to be destroyed because it's going to fall into the chulin, which is tameh, and therefore you're allowed to defile it. So Rav Shimon should also, he allows you to put a blemish on the animal, it's going to die, according to your understanding of Rav Shimon. And Reb Meir in the name of Yeshua allows you to defile the truma, which is falling and going to become tameh, with min Torah the halach le'ibud. So according to you, what you're saying, Rav Shimon will also hold this. Also, he should allow you to defile the trumas chametz tahar on Erev Pesach in the 6th hour by burning it with tameh, because truma tahar in the 6th hour is also pasul min Torah. It's only a rabbinical time, but once you've taken your mind from it, that itself brings about psul min Torah. You've been masiach das. You're not guarding anymore, and it's considered halach le'ibud. Now Rav Shimon forbids you to burn the trumas chametz tahar together with the tameh in the 6th hour, but that goes against what you've said. So Eina came, he answers back, he says, no, trumas chametz, which is tahar, doesn't become possible by you taking your mind off it in the 6th hour. And you're still going to guard it. And a meshamru, you'll still guard it. You don't need to touch anything else. Other foods which can be eaten, you won't just mix it wherever you want. You're not taking your mind from it. So it come out trumas chametz, which is tahar, does not need burning min Torah in the 6th hour, only rabbinical, and that's why it's not considered a shas ibud, and that's why Rav Shimon forbids you to burn it together with trumas chametz, which is tameh. 1 minute. Now we're going to ask another question on Rav Zeira's understanding the words of Rav Shimon, right? He says, "Hasiv Rav Yisrael Brei D'Ruchia Kasova." He was the scribe, Kasova. He says, "Agaz Mocha." He said, "Wait a minute. What are you going to talk about? You said, so you're saying to me, in the 6th hour, truma, which is tahar, look, I can't do much with it because I can't eat it now, but I'll still guard it for an hour. I won't take my mind off it. I'll still guard it." He says like this: what about if it was already put on the coals to burn it?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me I can't leave on the coal trumas chametz, which is tameh, not to defile the tahar one, right? So basically, truma tahar is already on the coals to burn it, right? Are you going to tell me I can't put tameh ones there? I mean, in this situation, you're definitely taking your mind from it. When it's already on the coals, you don't need to guard it. They shouldn't mix with other foods which are not chametz. And it's possible you've masiach das, you've taken your mind away. According to what you're saying, the words of Shimon, you should be permitted in such a case to burn it with tameh. Because it's pasul min Torah, you've taken your mind away. It's considered going to le'ibud. Why does he say you have to burn them separately? So Zira answers, Amalei, he said back to Rabbi Yitzchak, Lekeshina, you know what? Once you put the truma tahar on the coals to burn it, you're right. Then you can put truma tameh on it. You've definitely taken your mind away from it. Rav Shimon only forbade it, but to leave the truma tahara and the tameh on the coals in one go, when you haven't yet taken your mind away. Yeah. But you're right. Once you put that on the coals, you've taken your mind away, then you can add the tameh one. Now, Rabun Bachia asked, according to Zira, that if Rav Shimon allows you to defile truma tahara, which is halach le'ibud, as the way Rav Zira said, we should have allowed trumas chametz to burn it tahar with the tameh on Erev Pesach. Amr Rabban Rav Shammai. Altan Amrin, you say in the name of Zira, Rav Shimon Yaida Rav Yeshua. Rav Shimon will agree that according to Rav Yeshua, the wine that's gushing down, they will allow you to defile it. And Rabban Bachia asked him, Well, if he allows you to mitame truma, which is getting ruined, the wine which is falling down, why does he forbid you on Erev Pesach to burn truma tahira with tamea? He wanted to prove that maybe Rav Shimon argues on Yerushua and forbids you to be mitame truma, which is getting ruined. Now, why do you only ask the question on Rav Shimon? He says, I feel Rabbi Yeshua himself. Rabbi Yeshua allows you to catch the wine coming down, right? The wine. Less who? That does not fit in with Rabbi Yeshua about burning Trumas Chometz on Erev Pesach. He says the wine of Truma which spills, getting ruined, he allows you to defile it with your hands. Put a keli under it, right? Trumas Chometz Tahor, he forbids you to burn it together with Tameh. As we learned in our Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shua agree that you have to burn them separately. Why does Rabbi Bun Bar Chia only ask this question that according to Bzeira there's a contradiction of Rav Shimon, where the truth is you have the same contradiction in the words of Rabbi Shua himself, even without Rav Zeira. Rabbi Shua himself says the wine coming down, you can receive it. Trumas Chometz, Truma of Tahor, Erev Pesach, Tameh, you mustn't burn them together. What's the difference? Amalek. So Rav Shammai answers, were it not from Zeira, I would not have a contradiction of Rabbi Shua between the two Mishnais. Because Tanai and Inon, there are two Tanaim. Each one had a different view of Rabbi Yeshua. Tamon in Trumas is Rameh b'shem Rabbi Yeshua. And according to him, Rabbi Yeshua allows you to defile with your hands the wine of Truma which is pouring down by receiving it in Tameh Kalim. And he allows you to be Matame Truma Chometz Tahira on Erev Pesach by burning it together with Tameh. So basically, Rameh's version of Rabbi Yeshua would allow everything. But Amhacha, in our Mishnah, it's Rav Shimon b'shem Rabbi Yeshua. It's a different version of Rabbi Yeshua. And according to him, Rabbi Yeshua does not allow you to burn the Trumas Chometz Tahira on Erev Pesach by burning it together with Tameh. And he forbids also to be Matame the wine of Truma, which is spilt, and Halach Leibud by receiving it in Tameh Kalim. Basically, his version of Rabbi Yeshua would forbid everything, and his version of Rabbi Yeshua would allow everything. There's different opinions of Rabbi Yeshua. But after Bzeira was the one who came along and said, Rav Shimon allows you to put a blemish on the animal which is about to die, and he holds like Yeshua in Mishnah Trumas that you can defile the Truma coming down, then Rabbi Bun asked, if that's the case, you've got to steer it in Rav Shimon, because he did not allow you to be Matami Trumas Chometz Tahira on Erev Pesach by burning it with Tameh. Now, based on what we said, right, we're getting there, Rabbi, so we're getting there. Not a long way to go. Based on what we've said, the first case in the Mishnah of Trumas, there are three opinions of the Tanaim about Truma, where there's a suffix Tuma as Truma Teluya, right? So Truma with a doubt. Now, according to Rabbi Eliezer, you still have to guard it. If it's in a matzah where it's not guarded, you have to change to make it guarded. That was the first opinion, Rabbi Eliezer. It was the first case in that Truma's case. According to Bishua, you can change it to a lower degree to cause Tuma to happen, but you cannot defile it with your hands. Reb Gamliel holds, don't change anything. Don't make it more guarded. Don't make it less guarded. Leave it as it is. Now we're going to look at these three opinions, and we're going to equate them to three opinions in Bechoros, with the animal that's got the blood problem, which is going to die if you don't do the bloodletting. So can you do an action which will cause a blemish? So let's see. Tamon Tanina, we've learnt, the animal which has got a blood problem, is going to die if you don't do anything about it. There is the first opinion that says, don't do anything. You can, even doesn't make a blemish, don't do anything. Don't do a thing to this animal. They said, no, you can do bloodletting, but don't make a hole in his ear or his lip. Don't make a blemish. If you did a blemish, don't slaughter the animal. Don't rely on that blemish to slaughter the animal. You were the one that caused it. Wait till another blemish happens, and then you can slaughter it. Rav Shimon says, Yakiz, you can do the bloodletting, even though it makes a blemish. So we have three opinions. The first opinion says, don't do anything. The next opinion says, do something but don't make a blemish. And Rav Shimon says, do what you like, even if you make a blemish. So how do these opinions fit in to the various Tanaim in our Mishnah? Rabbi Yehuda, answer to Rabbi Yehuda, Krem Gamliel. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't allow you to do any bloodletting, even if you don't make a blemish, and he's going to die. That's like Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel said, leave the truma as it is. Don't do anything. Leave it as it is, even though the truma is going to get lost. That's what Rabbi Gamliel said. If you've got tluya, whatever, leave it as it is. Or Rabbanon, the Chachamim, who forbade you to save the animal by doing a blemish, but they allowed you if it doesn't make a blemish, that is Rebbe Lezer, who forbids you to cause Truma Tuluya a definite Tumah. He says, leave it in a guarded place. We don't want it to get a definite Tumah. Try and improve it, right? Leave it in a guarded place. Or Rav Shimon, and the view of Rav Shimon, who allows you to do whatever blemish you like, that is like Rabbi Yeshua, who allows you to remove the Truma from a guarded place to an not guarded place, in order to, even it will cause definite Tumah. Rabbi Yeshua is not bothered. Now, the Mishnah B'choros, Rav Shimon allows you to do a blemish even though you're going to cause a mum. Right? He allows you to do the bloodletting even though you'll cause a mum. But he agrees to the Chachamim that their words were brought in that Mishnah, that don't slaughter it relying on that blemish. You may have caused a blemish, but don't slaughter it based on that. Wait for another blemish to happen. Now we can bring a Brisa now, he's got slightly different wording, the words of Rav Shimon. Tani b'shem Rav Shimon, as we learned in a Brisa in the name of Rav Shimon, Yakiz, you can do a blemish for the Bechor, even though your intention is to do a blemish, you want to do a mum, which will allow you to shecht it. You're allowed to shecht it relying on that blemish. You don't have to wait for another blemish to slaughter it. That's not like we brought in the name of Shimon and Bechoros, that you can only do a blemish to do the bloodletting, but don't slaughter it based on that. Wait for another blemish to happen. We're saying no, you don't have to wait for another blemish. And the wording of Rav Shimon in the Brisa is something else which was brought in the Mishnah in the name of Yeshua. It's like Rabbi Yeshua brought in the second case in Trumas. The wine which is coming down is going to be matame everything. It's going to fall in the chulin. You can receive it in tamei kelim. Just like Rabbi Yeshua allows you to defile the truma wine which is falling, so Rav Shimon allows you to go ahead and do a blemish on the animal, and your kavanah is because the animal is going to die, and you're going to shecht it based on that. Now the Gemara also took on, there were two versions in the views of Rav Shimon. Now it could be there's no argument between them, so we brought the Mishnah B'choros, we brought a Brisa. They seem to be slightly different views of what Rav Shimon held. Tifta, it could be the Brisa is talking about B'kodshim Shehu Chayav B'achriyusan, Rav Shimon. We're talking about Kodshim, with the owner. Rav Shimon follows his view. He says whenever these karbonos are like the money of the owners, right? It's the owner is responsible for it, and there Rav Shimon says you're allowed to put a blemish on the bechor. It's like you are responsible for it. You're chayav achrayus on this. That's the sort of animal we're talking about. Now we said, according to Yehuda, an animal which has a blemish, you're not allowed to do a bloodletting to heal it. Whether you're doing and rely on that, you can't make a blemish and rely on that for shechting. Without making it blemish. Basically, we need it ready and fitting to be a korban in the base of Mikdash. And now we're going to find a view. So he said, don't do anything. You're not allowed to do any bloodletting, Rabbi Yehuda. He said, just leave it as it is.
Even if you make...
you can't make any blemish, nothing at all.
Even where you would expect it to heal up properly.
Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't allow you to do anything. Nothing at all. Even though, you want to try and shecht it, no, nothing. Rabbi Lakish, Rabbi Yehuda, the reason for Rabbi Yehuda, he forbids you to do anything to this animal, even if it doesn't do a blemish, is because the pasuk says with the bechor b'amum, rak es dama lo teichel, ala ares tishpechenu kamayim. You don't have the blood, you throw the water that goes on the floor like water. Lo tati lecha es dama ela b'shvicha. I only allowed the blood with pouring like water, that means through shchita. I did not allow you to do any bloodletting for medicinal purposes, because through that you might end up making a blemish. Now even with Kodshim, there's a mum, and they're apostle for the Mizbeach, and they've been redeemed. We have a similar pasuk. The dam rak hadam lo tochelu ala aretz tishvechenu kamayim. That it must spill on the water like water. The words tishvechenu kamayim tell me you're not allowed to bloodlet a bechor which has got this blood problem. You mustn't put a blemish on the animal. Now, what are you going to say with apostle karbonos, that apostle that you've redeemed? You have the same expression. What can it possibly mean there? There, look, you've taken an animal which was holy and it got a blemish, and you redeemed it. You can do what you like with it. You can do bloodletting there, and yet we find the same phrase. Are you going to tell me you can't do bloodletting there? Bloodletting's permitted. It's chulin. It's not holy anymore.
It's yours now.
There's no issue to put any blemish. You must say that this expression with Tfilah Mikdashim is not telling me there's no takana through bloodletting. It must be used for some other purpose. So if that's the case, we'll say with Bechor. Don't tell me it's telling me there's no takana with this bloodletting, but maybe it's written for another purpose. He says the words on Aisish Bechenu Kamayim, which is mentioned in Kodshim, which is possible, which have been redeemed, Lehachshe Tamat, is telling you that the blood of this is machshe food. It makes the food susceptible to receive tumah. Ma hamayim machshirin, just like the water can be machshir, can make food susceptible to receive tumah. Af hadam, the blood which is on these pasul karbonos, also, although it's been redeemed, yehem machshir, it can make the food susceptible to receive tumah. That's what it's telling me. Now the Gemara brings the words of an Amora who learns the source from the pasuk to the views of Rav Shimon and the Chachamim. They both allow you to put a blemish on this animal, but they argue, can you do a blemish even in a place where it makes a proper mum or not? Can you? Yeah, they allow you to do the bloodletting, but the Chachamim said don't make a proper blemish, whereas in a place where it makes a mum. But Rav Shimon allowed you to do it. Rav Bava b'Shem Rav Yochanan, Shnei Mikra Echad Hei Darshin. The Chachamim and Rav Shimon both darshan their source in the same pasuk. It says with Shlamim, Tamim Yiyu L'Ratzain, Kol Mum Lo Yeh. It should be acceptable. There should be no blemish. You're not allowed to put a blemish on a carbon. Rav Shimon says that connection, the wording, the juxtaposition. It says Tamim Yiyu L'Ratzain is right next to every blemish should not be there. So it tells me B'Shah Shehu L'Ratzain, when a carbon is fitting to be brought L'Ratzain that is perfect, Ein Ad Rashai Litten by Mum. You're not allowed to put a blemish on it. But if it's already got a problem, it's got this blood problem, and this is considered a blemish, then it's already got a problem of a blemish, and you're allowed to create an additional blemish. The Chachamim said, no. Even the animals full of blemishes, you're not allowed to put an additional blemish on it. So the Chachamim said you can't create a new blemish now, but Rav Shimon allowed you. Hadron alach ala ba'asa, hadron alach ala ba'asa, hadron alach ala ba'asa.